Florida, I know obviously you're only worried about your team, but do you feel like there's something to playing a team that lost in the final the last year in terms of what you are going to expect from them, in terms of what sort of challenges in front of you as it pertains to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we understand the challenges, and you're right. They made it through the ringer last year to get to the finals, and one of the final two teams. And but even if you're just looking at this year, there's a chance that the top four teams in each division will make it. And so we shouldn't be surprised. We know that it's going to be difficult. Even last round, if I'm being honest, I think it was 8 out of 9. So 8 out of 9 made it, and then the 8 were in the top 9 that had made it to this past round. And so it shouldn't surprise us that they're a good team, or that they're hungry, or that they play well, or that they've got good goaltending, or good specialty teams. That almost everybody does at this point. And I don't think it will surprise us. I don't think we have to account for anything other than the fact that they were a really good team this year. I understand what they did last year. I think the players understand that too, but they followed it up this year. They're a very good team as well.
Parity is a big thing in this league. Does it surprise you that it could be? Like if Vancouver wins tonight, it could
Yeah.
be. It will be, that the top team in each.
Well, honestly, I was saying that last round. I was saying that no matter what, some teams probably disappointed, right? Because their seasons, if you finish in, fifth or third or sixth or whatever it might be, there's going to be teams that'll be disappointed, and it is a competitive. A lot of teams, you make the moves, you have a great year, you make the moves to try and win that, try and get to the final round and win the cup. And just looking at last round, there's going to be disappointment for organizations, and so it's really good 8 teams last round, one remaining to be done here, but then a really good Final Four as well, regardless of who wins tonight.
I remember, Peter, when the first time we talked to you, you talked about looking at the playoffs that had just ended, and I remember you saying the grind and inside the game is what makes teams great. And you look at these teams that are remaining, Florida probably a good example. Is that holding true in your mind, and is that something that you've seen this group help embrace to get to this level?
Yeah, I mean, I think every team does it a little bit differently. I don't want to. I mean, Florida does it differently than Carolina does it, but Carolina was an extremely hard team to play against because of the way that they check, and there's a tenacious element that they bring to their game. I do think that the teams that continue on and push down, they have to be able to get through that and have to be able to play through that. I do think it's part of playoff hockey. I do think you see it more when it gets to the final 8, the final 4, the final 2. It really starts to show.
I have a question on you talked about special teams before. And with your power play, I'm sure your power play does what it does, but you talk about how teams are different. If Florida's penalty kill is different than Carolina's penalty kill, does your power play adjust to that, or does it just do what it does?
I think we try to adjust the best that we can to what we're facing with regard to the way a team kills. And there are vast differences between some teams. I don't think it's that different between these two teams. This is another team that has an aggressive mindset. I think that was, when we're referencing Carolina to Florida, I think they're different teams, but the way that they try to defend and the way that they try to defend the penalty kill has an aggressive mindset to it. And so you have to do things a certain way. But I think to answer your question, there are other teams that defend by kind of hunkering in and protecting seams and blocking shots. Well, yeah, that's a different message and a different mindset going into our power play and how we could create.
Looking at a player like Alexander Barkov, two-way, big center, how do you game plan against that? Do you do anything differently? Do you try to get him off his game?
We understand their lineup. We went through it as a group, and we understand that he's a really good player. And I think that we're going to have to play well against the Florida Panthers. Certainly him and what he's brought to the table, his size and his ability, both offensively and defensively. We get that. We acknowledge that, but they have other good players too that we got to make sure they've got goal scorers, they've got big defensemen, they have active defensemen, they've got good goaltending. There's a lot that goes into planning for a series, but you're right. He's a top centerman in the league. Our details on how we're going to match up or play things, I'll probably keep internally, but recognize that what you're saying is true.
Peter, it's tough to get here. What kind of honor is it for you and this team to be in the conference final?
I think that when you start the season and you set goals and on what it is that you want to accomplish as a group and things that you talk about along the way, you then have to go out and play the season, and just getting through the gamut of the 82 games can be tough, and not everybody makes it. A lot of teams, a lot of dreams are crushed right there. Excuse me. So to actually make it and to move forward round by round and get to this point, there's been a lot of work that goes into that. That being said, we also understand that the hardest work is yet to come, and starting in this round. And so I think our guys are ready for that challenge. I don't think we're, to answer your question, I don't think we're looking backwards in a rearview mirror with a big smile on our face. I think that the toughest work is in front of us, and we've got to be ready for it.
Peter, you, years ago now, you coached Bobrovsky early in his career in Philadelphia. I'm just curious, do you have any recollection of him then, what he was then? What was that like?
Yeah, he was young. He came in here. He was a great goaltender. He worked on his game constantly, a tireless worker, really good person. And I've watched him, because I had him as a young player in Philly. I've watched him grow, and the years that he had in Columbus and now down in Florida, proven to be a top goaltender in the league. But he was a guy that worked every day on the ice, and he wanted to get better at his craft, and he did.
Understanding that you're never going to tell us about your lineups and stuff. If Hedl comes in, what do you need from him in terms, especially if he's going to play on the wing as he did in the game that he did play? I mean, what are you looking for from a guy that's played one game in 6 months to add to your team?
For anybody to come in, let me remove the part that you want to get into. For anybody that comes into the lineup, we've got to do our job. And so if you're a defensive, physical player, you got to bring that to the table. If you're a guy that creates, then you got to come in and create. If you're a great defender, come in and defend. And so everybody's got to get their hands on the rope and make sure that we're all pulling in the right direction. So it's great. We had another good practice today, and Phil, to answer your question about practice today, I thought Phil looked good. He had a good practice, so that's a positive for us.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.